Hey, so it's me. I think it's been a while. It's been like over 2 weeks since my last video. Time has passed, but not much has happened for the most part. I have been working on my third novel, but I've been having issues. I also went through the like depressive episode. Thankfully, it was like much more toned down compared to like previous depressive episodes I had, but still, it happened, and now I'm here at the other end. I seem to be getting better. It was really weird because it was very, it took a lot of, my physical health. I was feeling very weak and there was nothing actually like happening to justify it. I mean, I have been having some issues with iron and vitamin D, but I've already been taking shots to kind of like make up for that. So I don't think that was the case. I think it was just the episode. He just really put me down for a long time. I was like kind of bedridden for a little while actually. So yeah, so time has passed and that happened. I had a bit of an episode, but it is what it is. As I said, like right now I'm feeling much better, so already kind of like at the end of it, thankfully. So today I'm ready. I'm a little more dressed up than normal because we're gonna have the launch of my book, which is right here. I'm just picking it up. Here it is. This is the book. City of Iron Bones. It's 697 pages long. And there's a little picture of me in the cover. This is a new development because this is like the first one and like the cover back in 2015. So like there was nothing here, but now I redid the cover, so this is what the new cover looks like. And there's also another picture of me here in the back. But yeah, so this is the design and this is the cover of like the new book. Really enjoy the spines. You see like the first spine was like black. This one now like they have a little bit of a continuation of the cover. I'm really proud of myself because I did everything with this book by myself. I love writing. It's not really I don't really it's one of those things that I love doing, but I don't really see it like as a possible career for me, at least right now it isn't. So it's not something that I'm necessarily I can't afford to put in the money or anything. So I did everything by myself and I'm happy with the result. I'll put this back. Yeah, so today is going to be a celebration with family and friends. Like it is kind of monumental in my life because, as I said, like the first one I did everything. It was 2015 and the second one it was from 2016 to now, so over 8 years that it took for me to get here. So it is one of those things that is good for you to celebrate because it is kind of, as I said, it is a moment for me. It is kind of, it is a word divider basically, because so much has happened in the past 8 years and I haven't always been well. In fact, if you do the math, I had past 8 years, I have had more moments that I wasn't doing well than the ones that I was, okay. But the thing is that from now on, because I'm finally at a very stable position in my life, very stable state of mind, from now on, like I'm gonna have more stable moments, more good moments than like bad ones, and even like the bad ones, because I said I just came out of a depressive episode. They're not as bad as they used to be, which is already like a great improvement. And even because it is something that happened the other day. I was the whole day plagued with a lot of like negative thoughts, a lot of like negative things, nothing new. That's the thing, nothing new. And the whole day I was very much, they were like really clouding my judgment, not in judgment necessarily, but like they were there and it was a bit of a challenge for me. But at the end of the day, I kind of was able to like really regroup and just like, yes, I don't want this thing anymore. Not necessarily like the bad moment that I was in, but at least like certain spirals, certain trains of thoughts, I can at least be like, okay, I don't want to engage with this, because a lot of these things, they are, particularly ones that have been happening for a long time, like they're bad for me. They have been bad for a long time, and I've been able to really isolate myself from like a lot of these loud noises. They are really dragging me down, but every once in a while they pop up, they come back again for whatever reason. It's not that I'm like isolating myself from the world much. It's the contrary. I think that I'm more present now, but like I'm more present offline. You know, I deleted, I think I mentioned this, so it's officially, I don't think I have any social media now, because I used to have like my Instagram, but like I wasn't really using it, so I decided to delete it. So like now I have none of those, and so like I'm not as connected with the world, you know, through, you know, social media. But I'm still like, I'm more and more present now in the things I'm doing. I'm more connected, you could say, with, you know, like the people and activities I'm doing. Of course, there like sometimes stuff online, like you cannot really completely remove yourself from the equation, but it's happening much less. Also because it's not just like online, you know, it's just like wherever you look at, because this is what happened. We have been having some matches, and I was watching them one day, you know, this past weekend, and that's pretty much what happened. You know, like you were kind of like reminded of world issues, and you know, I was not in the best state of mind. So usually when you're already a bit, you know, down here, these things, they kind of like, they roll into like this really large snowball that if you're already feeling pretty despondent, they just make things worse, which it is what it is. But I was really happy with how I was able to remove myself from that situation, like mentally, you know, like not really not letting my head get worse because of those. Of course, they took like a bit of effort, because first, like, you know, just receive news and just hear things, and that just makes it just brings back other stuff from the past, and that's not ideal, as I said. But I think all in all, like, I've been able to really separate things and create not only like a separation, yeah, I think, but like creating a separation, but like not a forceful one. I'm not willing, because sometimes what you have to do when you're overwhelmed with, you know, thoughts and other things, is that you have to really shut down your brain a certain way or another, so you really find ways to distract yourself. And like that's kind of like how you manage to get out of that, you know, the moment. But what I'll be able to do right now is not so much that I don't need to get to the point where I'm just completely shutting down my brain and what's happening. I'm just, yeah, I'm able to really kind of create a division of like, I don't want to think about this anymore, and it's being way easier than it used to be. And once again, everything goes back to trauma. I'm able to, with having dealt with like a lot of the traumas I have, and continue to do that. Oh yeah, by the way, now I was having therapy sessions like every week, and now we spread them out to like once every 2 weeks. So every fortnight I have a session, which is great. It means that I'm making a lot of progress and that I'm on the right path, because this particular therapy I'm doing, it is called EMDR, and this one's for traumas. Like, I'm always going to have to, you know, therapy, that's kind of like part of life, but usually it is the behavioral cognitive therapy. Like, that's the one that usually you're gonna do every week, and that's the one I'm waiting on my local health center to have, you know, sessions with the local specialist. But yeah, but until that happens, I'm still having this therapy. But basically, it's a very natural progression. I have increasingly like less things to talk about. But there's increasingly like less. We're doing like the stimulum. You have the stimulum. Sometimes it could be more than one, but you can't like do them. And there's like way less things, you know, popping up, because we're really making progress. And so much so that like now we're, you know, meeting less often. Also, you know, something that happened, because when I mentioned that I was really bad going through this depressive episode, there was like this week that I ended up like not going, and but it's all about communication, you know, being able to communicate your needs and like what's happening. So I'm really happy that even like in terms of communication, I'm able to do it much better, because you're not going to be well every day, but you know what you have to do is to be able to communicate with people around you and with yourself too. To be able to kind of like just being aware of what's happening, it can be really relieving, because when you're just going through a crisis and you don't know what's happening, that's very anxiety inducing, right? And also it just makes you, if you're already depressed, makes you even more depressed. And not only that, you know, it's just sometimes if you feel like you're lost, you don't really see like a light at the end of the tunnel, it can be, you know, it just makes you sometimes wonder, like, why am I even doing this for? What's the point, right? So when you know that it's just like something that is passing, something that you're going through, that's not going to be always the case. Because also sometimes it's not just about like that moment, and it's just that, because at least for me, me cycling. Sometimes, you know, it's just like the knowledge that like, okay, I'm not doing well today, and then I'm, well, you know, say the next day I'm rather doing well, I'm feeling much better. But then there's there's this knowledge that like next week you're probably not gonna be, you're going to go back to feeling terrible, and that's not great. Honestly, I think I'm out of practice. I feel like my thoughts, they're not flowing as well, you know, my talking. But anyways, but it's also I've been focusing a lot on French. I have definitely decided to go back to studying the language, and a lot of it was just like me dealing with like the rustiness, because you know, if you don't practice, and the knowledge of like anything, if you don't practice, you kind of like lose touch. A lot of different types of knowledge, they're kind of like riding a bike, in the sense that like you can get back, you can like learn it back. It doesn't have to be it's not something that's completely lost. And I think that I'm already being able to like get rid of like the rustiness. I'm back to and now I'm like learning again, so like that's pretty good. That's also something, because I was talking about how I've been writing, and it's been something that I've been struggling with. Also the writing, because I said like right in the middle, like me starting like the new book, I had an depressive episode, so like that doesn't help, right? But yeah, but I've been kind of struggling, and like right now that I have kind of like, you know, I'm stable again, like I'm trying to go back to writing, and I have no doubts that like right now things are gonna work out for me. But for the longest time I was really things were not flowing, and it was also sometimes at some points it felt like a mess, and it really was messy. There were some points where it's like, what am I doing? I think I sprayed myself to think, not just sprayed myself, but like the story, I was like, this is not connecting, this is just all over the place, which is part of like the process, but I wasn't really seeing the solution. And that's when I realized like, okay, I'm kind of depressed, like right now is not the time for me to just think about solutions. I'm just going to do what I can, which sometimes is just because whenever I'm writing, I find that there's just a way I can divide, you know, just to classify things into two, is that the writing that you're doing that is complementing what is already being written, and this writing that you're doing that is like new things, right? So sometimes when I'm struggling with like writing new things, I focus more on this, just let me just complement on the things I have already started, because that's pretty helpful. It's very necessary. They're both they're necessary because sometimes like you're guided by ideas, so you're not writing, you know, like a full paragraph. Sometimes you're really inspired, and you are going through. There was this chapter that was very much that I kind of had an idea and I wrote it down, and it was like a lot of prose, but it worked out great in the end, very well. But yeah, so I think that's kind of just been all over the place, this video, but that's kind of like what I talk about. So I had a bit of depressive episode. I am back at feeling better. You know, it's a construction, you know, it's you're building your well-being, so it's not like I'm back at 100%, but I am past, you know, the half mark, which is always great. It's like, you know, there's a bit of a shift that happens. It's not really a switch, it's more like one of those like things that you can, you know, grow in this so it's a little more soil, but at a certain point it's already like pretty illuminated, even if it's not like 100%. So I think I'm there, and that's good enough. And also beyond being good enough, it's one of those things that I try not to classify, because it can get you to be a little bit frustrated, right? Just classifying things, and sometimes like growth and you getting better, it's not really a linear process. Some days you're gonna make more progress than other days, and some days you're not gonna make any progress at all. This is something I had to really sit with this past few weeks, you know, just noticing that there are some days there was no improvement, you know, but you know, but even like that, you can look at the bright side. Okay, there's no improvement, but there's no regress either. But yeah, so I think that's that for it. Today is gonna be a special day. It's gonna celebrate a big achievement, a huge achievement for me. It is also, you know, was the end of an era for me, and it was the beginning of a new one. The new one so far has been a little bit messy, as I said, but you know, I like the messiness comes from my head, so I'm not discounting it. I mean, you know, like I'm not just, it is what it is, basically. And well, I think that's that. But the important thing is to, I guess, like not give up. I mean, I know it sounds very generic, but it's true. I feel like some days, not that I had necessarily the desire of giving up, but there is a certain desperation that comes from when you're noticing that you're not getting necessarily any better, and that things are not improving, particularly when you're used to being on a bit of a crescent, which was the case for me. I was for a long time just getting better every day. I was seeing some very clear improvement. Also, it feels like, as I said, to be beyond just me not being mentally well. There's the fact that because at the end of this project, I already had everything was already written there. I just had to edit basically. So there was a very clear guideline, but there was a very clear path that I had to take, and it was a very effective way by which I could measure myself and my progress. Like when you're building something new, then it's kind of a little bit more open-ended, and it can lead to you being a little bit too demanding of yourself and what you can do. And sometimes it's not necessarily there. I mean, sometimes not that you're demanding too much from yourself. It's just that you are working at a certain rate before something happens. In this case, the episode. And then you kind of keep demanding from yourself the same that you were able to deliver before, and then suddenly it's not really working as well. And if you start feeling like you're wasting your time, your life, and what you're doing, because as I said, this writing is something very important, to me, has always been, and it's a big part of my life. It's one of the things that I spend the most time on, besides, work and school, all that. Yeah, if you take out stuff I do for work and school, that is the thing that takes up the most time, and something that I'm happy that because it's something that's very fulfilling, and it allows me to, it's very good for my head too, in a lot of ways. I find that now that, because this channel, I have way less content than I used to have. It's so many years I would have many videos, video per day, sometimes even more, because there's so much that I had to say, and a lot of that goes back to trauma. Sometimes you end up really recycling the things that are being said, and it's not that you're repeating yourself necessarily, it's just that you're really feeling those things at that point in time. So you mark that, you just mark that, and you remark what's happening. And now that I'm in a new stage of my life where everything's so much more peaceful, everything's much more silenced too. My head isn't as loud and isn't as tumulted. There's way less noise, and this translates into even this little journal entries that I have here. But this is good. This is a change, but it is an improvement of sorts. At least I can look at it like that. It does feel like that to me, because it feels like, as I said, everything is more peaceful, and that's kind of my goal for now. I want to lead a peaceful existence, away from, I want to exist in my little corner, away from the trouble. Naturally things happen, and there's nothing you can do about that. You can only ever control yourself and how you react to those things. But when you just the way you've been doing things, because even when it comes to situations that challenge this piece, at the end of the day, it's not that I have experienced every human emotion possible. It's not the case, but a lot of the things, there is a certain, you can kind of quantify them and classify them in some categories. So I'm just thinking about the past few years. There's nothing new necessarily. Nothing that happened was unheard of or unexperienced by me. It's just more of the same. And yeah, I mean, something that has also happened the past couple of years is that my brain finished developing, and this is something that mixed with everything else, made a huge difference. Having your brain full of your frontal cortex developed, it makes things much easier to deal with, which is all that I wanted. But yeah, but basically what I'm trying to say is that there's still a lot of new things for me to experience. For example, grief, loss. I never really lost anybody, like that to death. People have died around me, but nobody no close to me, nobody who really, I don't want to say that some people don't matter, but somebody who's very close to me. So there is one emotion that I'm gonna experience going to be different from everything I've experienced so far. But no, apart from that, like everything that happens is a variation of something that already happened before. And of course, sometimes just some things, just because you have experienced them already, doesn't mean that's going to be easier to deal with. It's not that you feel less, but it is easier to deal with. You don't feel less necessarily, but you have more tools to deal with those things. You have more experience. You have sometimes more knowledge about how those feelings will go. So for example, is like going back to the notion of sometimes these episodes that I have, even if I don't know necessarily when they're gonna leave me, when I'm gonna go back to being well again. I've been through this before, so I know that it's gonna end. Just that is already a huge deal. It is groundbreaking in itself, knowing that like this torment, this whatever that's happening is going to come to an end, that these things are not going to go forever. And not because naturally not because necessarily things are going to end. It's because you're doing things to make sure that it ends. You change your medication, you're changing your habits. Even for example, something like mindfulness. And I started meditating, I kind of like drop off medication, to be completely honest. But I can still kind of like reap the rewards. Maybe I should go back to meditation. Because I do feel like sometimes it's not that I'm aimless, going aimlessly through the world, but because I was so focused on finishing the novels, finishing this project, and it's been the thing that was pressing for so long, that now that I have more time, like I already have a project that I want, that is following, that I want up and more to do, but it's different, because I think the other one that was like this inbuilt urgency, at a certain point, like I think this urgency is going to come back, and I'll be like, okay, it's been X amount of time, so I should have more to show for it. But it's still very recent, still like it's been a month actually since I finished this project, and as I said, it was a project that was there for 8 years, so it's different. It feels there is a certain liberating feeling that is permeating through everything. It feels like vacations, so it feels like your summer break or the break, whatever time you have your vacations, your school breaks. It feels like that, like it's very much, it's very reminiscent of that, because so I think I'm just enjoying this feeling, because a part of me is very tempted to just feel like, okay, productivity, let's go back to producing, while like I don't really have to do that. I can just take my time and enjoy this little break before I go full strength back to like this new project that is exciting. But that's an interesting thing. It's also, honestly, like it's been like a month since that one has ended and this one has started, but I've already experienced so many different emotions regarding it. I was talking about how at certain points it felt like a mess, a pure unadulterated mess, and I've already been able to fix some of the things that were making me feel that way about this particular project, but I don't have all the answers. These 2 books, they're part of a series that I'm writing, and it's 4 books in total, and I have somewhat of a clear vision of what's gonna happen, not necessarily what's gonna happen, but like what are the events. It sounds like it's a synonym of what I was saying, but yeah, I kind of like, I know I feel like I have right now a clearer vision of what's happening in book 4 than I had in book 3. Not necessarily like a clear vision of everything, but I know how it's going to start, and I know how it's going to end. So when you look at things from a distance, that's already like a lot. But it was the same thing with this project. I know where it was going to start, and I kind of like had an idea where it was going to end. I say this because basically there is going to be a bit of a time jump between book 3 and 4. Book 2 started like right after book 1. And then book 3 now it starts like a week after that, and it is kind of like it does stand out a little bit, because everything so far has been very crunched. But yeah, so like right now I'm playing around a little bit with creating some gaps of time between some things, and basically I try to divide this third novel into parts, which is not something I did for the other books, but it is going to help place everything to just, put everything into place basically, because between these parts you have some period of time that passes. And yeah, so it's one of those things that it feels just everything is just so fluid. It feels like you have all these different pieces, they're flowing in like this ocean, and I'm just looking at them and I'm like, how am I going to tie you guys together? Because I think that when you think about two events, because I think that's what's happened so far. I think the more separated elements have already kind of like written. I already wrote them down, and that's why I have to just a little connecting tissue between certain things that's kind of like missing. Also, it's already very clear to me that this book, the book 3, is going to be shorter than book 2, which is probably good because 697 pages. I mean, given the amount of time I put into it, it couldn't be anything else. But look at this. Look at the difference between these two. So it's going to be probably larger than this, but it's going to be shorter than this. But yeah, I'm really happy, really proud of myself. And it's an interesting sentiment to have, because it's something that for the longest time I felt with book 1, because I was really proud of myself for accomplishing what I did, but at the same time there were some things within the novel that they made me cringe, or I thought they were like a little embarrassing, and like those sentiments are not mutually exclusive. You can be proud of yourself for accomplishing something and still question the thing that was accomplished, right? And I'm already feeling, well, it's much more recent, so it's not that I'm feeling embarrassed by some of those things. I mean, I think time's gonna pass, like 5 years from now I'm gonna look at it and probably gonna cringe, but it's part of the experience, it's part of existing, it's part, yeah, because sometimes you learn things that you get, because the same thing with like you looking back at your life. I look at some things where I am actually at a good point in my life where I can look at some stuff and be like, this was cringy, but I'm not necessarily cringing myself. I'm just like, that's me, that was what you do as a teenager. I was not the only one making questionable choices and saying questionable things. And yeah, I mean, it is interesting for me because there's just such a variety of things that I can be embarrassed about, and it's very telling of where I am at mentally, depending on what I'm thinking about, because some of those things were generally like embarrassing, and some of those because some things, like, you think that's the end of the world, like you're just super embarrassed by it once it happened, but like that passage is just like, it was not that embarrassing, it was just like a regular level of embarrassment that we all go through. So it's not we all go back, in our teenagers, and we just think about things that we said and we're just like, so I can acknowledge something's cringy without feeling the cringe, which is pretty much, I think, the ideal state for you to just remember things about, because you don't want to keep cringing forever. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure I'm feeling very confident, sure of myself, but pretty sure that 5 years from now, I'm gonna look at some of the stuff I'm saying and doing right now, and I'm gonna be like, oh my god, where was I? But as I said, I don't want to have necessarily cringe. I think that something's cringy, but I still want to have some kindness towards myself and be like, yeah, it's normal. You do things like that when you're young. And I'm talking about my teenage years. It's different because like they feel like a stage. They don't feel like the last stage. They feel like a stage before the last, because I have already lived so much life since I graduated high school. It's 2024, so I graduated high school December 2025, so no, 2015. So next year, it's going to be a decade that I graduated. So much has already happened, and I'm really happy and honestly really fortunate to be able to say that like right now is the best moment of my life, the best time I'm living, even if I'm not saying that like everything before this was horrible and awful or anything. No, it's just that I am the best I've ever been at, and even if you have like ups and downs, this is it. This is life, and things can only get better from here, and that's that. Even if I feel a little bit unsure, that's the thing. I feel unsure about some of the things I'm doing, some of the places I'm going, like where am I going from now? Oh shit, it's really distracting. I don't know if it's my ears or my nose, something's clogged, so I'm listening to my voice, and I'm not loving it. But basically what I want to say is that I'm very confident, very sure of myself. I know who I am. So all the uncertainty comes from, you know, actions and things I want to do, places I want to go, things I want to be even, but it's not. But all these things now, they're going to be kind of like aggregating, you know, because I think I have found myself. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm going to leave this with this thought, this nice thought that, you know, I have found myself. So all the incognitas right now, it's not that they don't exist anymore, but I'm definitely in a better place to deal with like everything and anything that's gonna happen from now on. So yes, bye.